Hey guys, today we are going to try to solve your thrift flip dilemmas. I asked you guys to submit items that you want to repurpose or upcycle but aren't quite sure what to do with, and today we're going to take a look at a few of those. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted your thrift flip dilemmas for this video. I will leave the link again in the description and in the comments. You guys can keep submitting them, and if I get more, I will make another video. Let's see if we can brainstorm some ideas for the people who submitted these. I'm gonna tell you guys what I might do based on the information I've been given, but please, down in the comments, if you have other ideas for these people as well. Let's make a collective pool of ideas that can help these folks out.
You're basic.
So let's see, this first one, I'm assuming the name on the photos is the person's name. Dahlia submitted this long sleeve kind of sage green shirt with a button down closure in the front. Looks very comfy. I love this color. What do you not like about the item? There's a random stain on the front and it is also quite boring. It's a plain shirt, that is true. I'm not sure where the stain is. I'm thinking it might be this little line that's kind of in the midsection, but it's not, I don't know, at least in this photo, I don't find it that noticeable. And then what they do like is the color. I like the color as well. I think that's a very nice color. Any ideas for the direction you'd like to take the item? They said potentially adding elbow patches, and then their sewing skill level is they know the basics of a sewing machine. Perfect. I do like this color a lot, and it is a very plain shirt, but the first thing that comes to mind is you might not need to alter it at all, actually. I know, oops, clickbait. You clicked on a thrift flip video and I'm suggesting that you don't thrift flip it. Depending on what your style is and how you like to dress, I think this would be a fantastic layering option. My first thought is to layer it under a dress. I used to have a shirt that was a very similar color, a long sleeve sage green, and it had a bit of a mock neck, and I thought that was really cute under a couple of my dresses. So if you have anything like that, layer it under a dress or like a vest top of some kind. I think that would be a really good layering top, and that way you would also hide the stain. But if you are set on changing this because you're just tired of looking at it the way that it is now, elbow patches would be cool. That's definitely not a bad idea. I guess it depends on how feminine or masculine you want to go with the alterations. I think elbow patches is going to keep the shirt more neutral, leaning a bit more masculine. I would go with more in a tan or like rusty brown kind of color. I think that would complement the sage green really well. And if you wanted to bring that into the front of the shirt, because the elbow patches you're only really going to see from the back, I would potentially add like a little pocket out of that same material, a contrasting pocket. I mean, a pocket might look a little random, so you could forego that. My instinct though, for me personally, would be to take this in a slightly more feminine direction, crop the sleeve right above where that cuff is, and then crop the shirt just a little bit. We're not making a crop top, just shortening it a smidge. If it's already a length that you really like, then just take off that very bottom hem and then create a lettuce edge hem. This you can definitely do on a basic machine. The first time I did it was just, I think, using a zigzag stitch on my machine, but I think that would look really cute. It would change up the look just a little bit. After adding the lettuce edge hem, I think what I would go in and do is just a little bit of embroidery around that collar. Now the thing is, it looks like a stretchy knit top, like a rib knit top. So I would stick to only doing embroidery on that thicker collar piece, because that's going to be a little bit sturdier to hold the stitches. And this doesn't need to be something super complicated. I think if you look up how to do a simple lazy daisy, that would contrast nicely with that sage green, like a little white daisy with just a simple yellow, like French knot in the center. And then you could potentially do that down that front in between the buttons. I think that would be so cute. That'd be so cute. That doesn't hide the stain, but it would distract from it. If the stain is really bugging you though, well, if you don't mind a super cropped top, you could crop it like halfway through that stain, and that's gonna get rid of most of it. I don't know that we want something that cropped though, like that's really short. You could add a stripe of another fabric over top of it. Yeah, either cut out that middle section and replace it with a different fabric. To be honest though, I don't know that I would. I think I would try a few stain removal tactics first, hit the research deep dive on the internet and see what stain removal things you can try, hopefully be able to reduce it or get it out completely. Oh, you know what I've been using lately? This is not an ad. OxyClean has been my best friend this past year. Like, I got out some serious funky stains. So I would try some targeted OxyClean dish detergent, like anything I could to get that stain out first. And then I would make the lettuce leaf hems on the sleeves and the bottom, and then do some daisies around the collar and down that front between the buttons. I think that would be really cute and would distract from the stain. To me, at least in this photo, maybe it's worse in person, the stain does not look that bad. So anyway, that's what I would do for this one. All right, our next one is from Melanie. I got this on clearance 10 years ago, but never wore it. Flowy part is too long to wear as a skirt and don't like it as a dress because I don't love sleeveless things. It also does not fit across the bust. What they do like is the fabric. I agree, this is a really cool fabric. Their ideas so far are considering trying to convert the flowy skirt into some kind of tie-on wrap skirt for layering, and their sewing comfort level is the basics of a sewing machine. Perfect, perfect, perfect. That's all we need. Yeah, I agree. This is a really cool fabric. If we're just trying to use the fabric, to be honest, my first thought is not a skirt or like a wrap skirt or anything. My thought is actually to convert it into some kind of top, more of a shawl, maybe a poncho. Part of why I thought that is because of the third photo they included, which really confused me. I was like, what am I looking at? At first I thought it was completely different item of clothing, but it's actually just the dress with the skirt pulled up to show that inner lining, which again, really cool fabric there. So I'm gonna say you can scrap the top shirred portion. I have reworked or upcycled stuff that had a top portion like that on a skirt or a dress, and I have saved that top shirred panel thinking, oh, well, I'll reuse that. It's like a pre-shirred panel, perfect. Saves me the work of shearing on my machine. I never end up using them. We're gonna get rid of that top piece, and that's gonna leave us with the really flowy bottom pieces, both the inner lining and the outer part. And since the bottom portion is a handkerchief hem, I'm thinking it's probably a big square with a hole in the middle, or maybe it's two long rectangles put together to make that shape. I can't quite gauge how much fabric it is just from a couple of photos. And so what I'm thinking really depends on, one, how much fabric you have, and two, what your style preferences are, because I want to make a little flowy top. So depending on what it looks like when you cut off that top layer of fabric, you could just clean up that hole and wear it as a shawl, depending on what that looks like. That could be kind of a really cool throw on easy thing. It might be a little loose on the shoulders though, depending on how gathered it is. If it opens back up, it could just be like this massive hole that's just gonna fall completely off your shoulders, but maybe it won't. Maybe it's just big enough to sit kind of off the shoulder and look really cool. So that would be one option. That would be minimal altering. You would literally just cut off that top outer layer and then clean up the neckline. Another option, if there is enough fabric, is some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like an open front shawl. I'll put a picture so you guys know what I mean. Basic construction of just a rectangle in the back, two rectangles for the front where it's open, and then add a really simple sleeve. Again, just rectangles. You could also do, when you lay it flat, if it's just two rectangles, when you separate it, slice that down the middle for your front opening, and then just stitch the sides together a little bit. That would be probably the easiest way to do it if these are already in two rectangles. And then the third thing that I'm thinking, if you want to try something a little bit more complicated, and again, depending on what your style preferences are, my thought would be like a little tie front flowy top. I'll put pictures of what I'm thinking of. So that would be a little bit more work to potentially source a pattern. But again, if you're not going for something fitted, if it's gonna be a little bit looser but just ties in the front, I think the shapes could be fairly simple and you don't have to worry about adjusting for fit as much if you're just tying it in the front. And then it would be really cool to make some like flowy loose sleeves. If there's enough fabric, make it a big bell sleeve. And actually you could potentially make the body of the top from that inner lining fabric. I think it looks like there's enough there to just cut your two front pieces where it ties and then a simple back piece, because I'm thinking something a little bit cropped as well. I think that's enough fabric for that. And then you have plenty of fabric from the skirt to make two flowy sleeves, and they'll be a little bit translucent, and I think that'll be really, really cool. Personally, I think that's what I would go with. That is probably the most complicated option, but I think it'd be really cool. That's what comes to mind for me with such a cool boho fabric like this. All right, this last one is a really cute little stripy dress. Maggie says, I love the color and fabric and the skirt fits great, but the open front is completely unable to close over my chest. There's about a 2-inch gap at the widest point. What they do like is the skirt and the buttons, but they don't have to be a functional button. Any ideas where to go with this? I think a corset top might be the idea, but I'm not sure how to execute it when I have no similar extra fabric for a modesty panel and it's so far off. I think they mean the gap is far off, 2 inches. That's not that bad. I don't think that's as far, unless it's more than 2 inches. But in my mind, that's not that bad. Okay. What's your sewing skill level? Several years or big projects under my belt. Perfect. Excellent. This is a really cute dress. I really do like these colors. There's 2 things that come to mind for this, because it sounds like there's really just the one fit issue, and otherwise they love the dress and it fits great aside from across the chest. I do think adding a modesty panel up that front opening would be my instinct on where to go if I needed to add room across the chest. Because yeah, if you split it at the sides, that's just gonna widen the armholes. That might not necessarily work. If you split it up the back, that could help a little bit. But again, if the fit issue is here, you probably want to address it here. To be honest, I think if you just want to address the fit issue, I would just go with a panel of fabric added up the center to close that gap. But I wouldn't worry so much about matching. I would say add a panel in a color that can match as closely as possible these purple stripes. Are they purple or are they blue? They're kind of looking purpley to me. Well, maybe it's blue because this ribbon down here is blue. But when I first glance at this dress, the main color that reads to me is the red. And then you also have like these warmer yellow tones. So I don't think I would want to add a contrasting panel of a similar red or like salmon, whatever color this is. I would try to match this deep purpley blue color, since that is the less prevalent color in the pattern, and then change the closure to a lace up over top of that, because then you can tighten or loosen it as needed. You can stick your grommets right inside those buttonholes. I have done that before. Just make sure that they're big enough to fit snugly through there. And then obviously on the other side, you're gonna need to punch some new holes for grommets on that side as well. But I think that could be really cute. I completely forgot to mention the buttons, which Maggie said that they really like. So for all of the design possibilities discussed going forward, I think I would just remove the buttons from their original placement and put them somewhere else on the bodice of the dress as a decorative accent. So maybe along the tops of the shoulders, along that shoulder seam, or along the neckline, maybe around the waist. I'm not sure. It really depends on what design Maggie ends up going with. But ultimately, I think the buttons could easily be reworked into the design as a decorative element. There are lots of different places on this dress that the buttons could look really cute. Because sometimes if you have to make a change to a garment, I think sometimes we get so focused on like, I need to make my alteration or my fix to this invisible, but sometimes you can't. So it's like, might as well lean into the fact that people are gonna notice. And then it kind of becomes a feature of the item. Like, it's already such a cute dress. And then if you had just a pop of that indigo color with a lace up across, and then make the lace up this peachy, like orangey red color. And then again, that is gonna create contrast against that indigo panel. I think that could be really cool. And that would allow you to keep wearing it as a dress. But if you just don't wanna do that, if that does not sound appealing, and again, you're leaning toward a corset top, I would say make it an overdress, which is actually going to be a little bit simpler because then you don't have to go find a fabric that matches the contrasting stripes. Then all you're really going to do is continue that split down the center front, fold in and clean up those edges, and then, like I said, swap the buttons and buttonholes for grommets and add your lace up with really whatever color you want. I think matching one of the colors in the dress would be really cute. This definitely could be such a cute overdress, and you don't have to style it in a Renfaire type of way. You could just wear it over a different plain colored dress, wear it over a skirt, honestly wear it over anything. No need to separate the top into a corset top, although you could. Yeah, I guess a third option would be to split it into a skirt and a top, and then I guess just elasticate the waist of the skirt. You know what though, you're gonna lose the pleats if you open up the skirt. So if you wanna keep the skirt pleated, you're gonna have to do a little bit of extra work to like stay stitch that before you open it up and add a waistband. But you definitely could split this into a two-piece matching set. And then that does give you more flexibility in styling them with other things. That could be really cute as well. You've got options. You've got options. Like, there's so much you could do with it. If this dress is really working for you and you want to keep it functioning as is, unfortunately, adding a panel in the front is gonna probably be the best way to go, the simplest way to go. But you could also split it down the front into a lace-up overdress, or what would involve the most work would be splitting it into a lace-up little top and then a separate matching skirt, which could also be really cute. Now I'm thinking about it as a matching set, and that's so cute. So you got options. So we're just gonna do those 3 for today. Again, if you guys watching have other ideas, please leave them down below so that we can help these people figure out what to do with their lovely clothes so that they can keep wearing them and keep enjoying them, hopefully for years to come. The biggest thank you ever to those of you who submitted your thrift flip dilemmas for us to dissect here today. Again, the link is still open. Please keep sending them. These were really fun to look at. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a swords emoji down in the comments. It's relevant, I swear. If you enjoyed hanging out today, make sure that you subscribe so we can hang out again next time. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see ya when I see ya. Goodbye. Oh, I looked like right at my ring light and that was really bright, and now I'm blind. Hey. Oh, farts, I'm getting a phone call.